Hello everyone, it's Dr. Alia for Bio 3003 Plant Structure and Function. For today we're going to continue with plant growth and development, and let's have a look at growth in stem. Each growing season, primary growth produces young extensions of roots and shoots, while secondary growth thickens and strengthens the older part of the plant. A woodland plant has both primary and secondary tissues. So primary tissues are new tissues formed each year from primary meristems right behind the apical meristem. So here would be the primary growth. Second year here and third year here. And secondary tissues develop during the second and subsequent years of growth from lateral meristems. So from the primary growth, it becomes secondary here and secondary here in the third year. So trees undergo secondary growth because of a change in the vascular cambium. The secondary tissues produced by the vascular cambium are called secondary xylem and secondary phloem. We'll have a look at that later. So before we go next, I wanted to have a refresher of the dicot stem and the monocot stem. So as you can see here, the dicot stem and the monocot stem, differences in terms of the vascular bundle. You would have vascular bundle in a ring for dicot stem and scattered vascular bundles in monocot stems. So remember that we've learned before that meristem cells mature into three primary meristems. Remember, first we have the protoderm that give rise to the epidermis, and then we have the procambium that give rise to vascular tissues, and then we have ground meristem that give rise to ground tissues. In woody plants, the procambium also give rise to two secondary meristems. And the secondary meristems generate secondary or lateral growth, increasing a plant's diameter or girth. And this can also be called a cambium or lateral meristem. The first secondary meristem would be vascular cambium. So vascular cambium is located between the xylem and phloem and give rise to secondary xylem and phloem. And then we have cork cambium, which is located between the phloem and dermal layer that gives rise to bark. For the first stage of secondary growth of stem, the meristematic bands make a continuous cylinder of dividing cells surrounding the primary xylem and pith of the stems. And it's called the vascular cambium. So this ring of vascular cambium consists of regions of ray initials and fusiform initials. So ray initials, also called xylem rays and phloem rays, they transfer water and nutrients laterally. While fusiform initials form secondary xylem to the inside of the vascular cambium and secondary phloem to the outside of the vascular cambium. As secondary growth continues over the years, layer upon layer of secondary xylem, accumulates, producing the tissue we call wood. So this is all wood. So wood consists mainly of tracheids, vessel elements, and fibers. A trachea is a xylem element that does not have end wall openings. So water moves through the side walls pits only. They are common in gymnosperms and function to conduct water. While a vessel element is a xylem cell with overlapping end wall perforations. So they are more evolutionary advanced than the tracheids. Vessel elements overlap to connect and end-to-end support water conductions. So these cells, which are dead upon functional maturity, have a thick lignified walls that give wood its hardness and strength. So what we call wood is actually secondary xylem. So let's have a look at the woody stem. A woody stem has three distinct areas: the pith, the wood, and the bark. So the cork cambium is the outermost lateral meristem. It's one of the two secondary meristems other than vascular cambium is the cork cambium. So the cork cambium is the outermost lateral meristem. It produces cork cells or bark containing a waxy substance known as suberin that can repel water. So the bark protects the plant against physical damage and helps reduce water loss. The cork cambium, cork cells and phloem are collectively termed the periderm. The periderm substitute for the epidermis in mature plants. In some plants, the periderm has many openings known as lenticels, which allow the interior cells to exchange gases with the environment outside atmosphere. So this supplies oxygen to the living and metabolically active cells of the cortex, xylem, and phloem. So the activity of vascular cambium gives rise to annual growth rings. During the spring growing season, cells of the secondary xylem have a large internal diameter. Their primary cell walls are not extensively thickened. This is known as early wood or spring wood. Here. During the summer, the secondary xylem develops thickened cell walls forming late wood or summer wood. Here, which is denser than early wood. So this alternation of early and late wood is due largely to a seasonal decrease in the number of vessel elements and seasonal increase in the number of tracheids. It results in the formation of an annual growth ring, which can be seen in circular ring in a cross section here. The annual growth ring of a stem. So if you examine the cross section of a stem, you can actually reveal the age of the tree and the prevailing climatic conditions during each season. Other than that, there are medulla or pith rays. Here, medulla or pith rays that are essential for the radial conduction of water, meaning it goes across here. Water, minerals, and other organic substances. They transport the substance from the center to the edges in transverse section. So that's why they have this radiating line from the center of the ring. After several years of secondary growth, several zones would be visible in the stem or in this case tree trunk. So you would have hardwood, which is the older darker wood in the center, and sapwood, which is lighter still functioning xylem closer to the vascular cambium. So secondary growth produces only vascular tissue and dermal tissue and not ground tissue. Looking at this cross section of a tree trunk, you can see the rings here. So you can see that the vascular cambium produces vascular tissue to the inside and phloem to the outside. And then you would have the cork cambium here, which produces the dermal tissue to the outside. So you will be able to see the rings there. Okay, so that's all for growth in stem. We'll continue with leaves and seed in the next video. So bye for now. Thank you.